In this country, you could do a transaction with India or China or wherever, but it would translate immediately into dollars and it would make it much easier. So it is kind of logical that that would take over as the world reserve currency. And you're also talking about digitization and tokenization. Part of the goal is to have all equities, and all titles to property, to real property, also held on these coins. In that way, they can break the coin down. So for example, let's say I have $100,000 in equity in my house, right? And it's now held, it's tokenized, turned into a token, and it's held in SDRs that are broken down to 100,000 $1 increments. And now you go to the mall or you decide you want to buy a car or something like that. And particularly when they can control your credit even more and your ability to buy things or not buy things, then what it appears to me that their plan is, because I'm not part of the IMF, but they have stated in a lot of documents how much easier it would be for you to spend your equity, right? Right now, if you want to spend your equity, you have to go get a home loan, and then they put that in your account, and you can spend it that way. But once everything is in digital form and all titles are held in digital form, then what is most likely to happen, quite honestly, is that without realizing it, people will spend any equity that they own in anything or in everything. And because the SDR is a much broader global currency, because it's a basket of currencies, that means that wealth and money can transfer around the world a lot faster, a lot easier, and you don't really even know who's picking up the equity in your house. But the goal is wealth transfer. Okay, and they want you to volunteer it just like we have been through inflation. So it's control, absolutely, because once everything is in digital form and it's intangible, well, what is the new money? It's programmable money, right? They can take it in negative rates. They can timestamp the money. They can direct where you can and cannot spend that money. And that's all at a push of a button with enough distance between the central banks and the individuals. And therefore the individuals lose all control. Just like, we're going through a transformation and transition socially. I mean, it should be pretty obvious to everybody now, right? Socially, economically, and financially. But it really is about wealth transfer, because you will own nothing and you will be happy, except that wealth never disappears. It merely shifts location, right? And the robotics and the AI, so it justifies a lot, because now what it looks like is that it's the worker's choice. But again, were they not nudged into that choice? I mean, 3 of those stimulus checks in a year, plus the added unemployment benefits, plus the child care tax credits, and all of these things. I mean, that equated to a family of 4 with $150,000 income getting an additional $14,000. An additional $14,000. So yeah, they're shopping, but there's not really a whole lot of reason. If you're at the lowest pay level, why in the world would you go to work and give up income? I think China has been leading the way in many, many areas, and the digital yuan is certainly one of those areas. And they dictate what you can buy with that. And that digital yuan has a life, if you don't use it by this date, it goes away. So they're running, yes, I think China is the forerunner to what is happening globally. They are showing the world how to control their population, absolutely. And I really hate to say this, if anybody really actually thinks we live in a democracy, what's been happening since the pandemic should show you that it's not true. And I think we will become more and more and more like the Chinese. Unless there's some kind of revolution. And we could be leading up, certainly, we could be leading up to a revolution. That is 100% correct. And it didn't just start 8 months ago. The first breaking below the lower zero bound, which happens to be one of my very favorite pieces from the IMF, came out in 2015, where they were talking about this and how to get rid of the nasty, the paper currencies so that they could take you below zero because they're out of ramp room. So none of this, and of course 96, the cryptocurrencies, the NSA white paper on how to create a digital currency. They've been working on this for a very long time, and by they I mean the central bankers, governments, because they want more control over you, and they want to be able to do lifetime taxing. They want to be able to do wealth taxing. They want to be able to control every single thing that we do. So now you have a small group of elites, which we already have. Clearly, who's benefited the most from all of the stimulus that's been pumped in and continues to be pumped in to the global economy. But so you have a small group that controls everything, and the rest of us, we got to do whatever they say because they control everything. And the other part is homogenizing the world, right? So where we have America, we have China, we have France, and we have Italy. Well, over in Europe, that great experiment trying to pull all of those, 28 countries together, and it didn't work. It's a failed experiment, but they still wanted to homogenize everybody rather than everybody having their own distinct flavor. Okay, we're Americans and we're like this, and somebody else is, India is, and they're like that. And so there's a richness to the culture and the heritage and the immigration when people move from country to country, the richness that they bring. But what suits the central planners is for everybody to be the same.